Rafaelo puede marcar goles el equipo de la ART Jalapa. Hasta el momento te mencionaba que el Tren del Norte solo permite 3 goles. Uno de Rafael Vieira, que fue de Juventus. Anterior, uno de Benzi Hernández contra el equipo de Ocotal y uno de Eric Alcázar desde el punto penal.
Sweet.
Eso habla muy bien del gran trabajo en la zona defensiva que ha estado realizando el Meño Rosa, Cristian, Oscar Acevedo, el mismo Oscar López, porque son los que han estado fungiendo en la zona defensiva. Pero el ataque letal es fundamental del Tren del Norte, y jugando en casa con un Richard Rodríguez que nos regaló un golazo en el estadio o en el complejo deportivo más.
Let's do it, buddy. Have a game.
Creo que aquí se va a ver, va a dar grandes muestras de la ofensiva que tiene el Tren del Norte.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Estadio Independencia in Esteli, Nicaragua, as we bring you this presentation of Liga Primera. The 2020 Apertura season reaches match day 5 as one of the surprises, a pleasant surprise in the league, Municipal Jalapa, a tiny club, but they sit 4th out of the 10 teams in Liga Primera, coming off of a big upset, 2-0 against Dirian Hen last weekend. The visitors taking on El Tren del Norte, current league leaders, heading into the current match day of Real Esteli at a perfect 4 wins through 4 matches. I'm Ben Wilson, joined by James Poovey tonight, as we are incredibly happy to bring this match. We broadcast remotely here in California. James, you're in Arizona, but we are making it work. And James, we saw Esteli last weekend in a 4-1 road victory at Juventus. Got off to a slow start, but they continued the offensive attack. Best goal-scoring machine so far in Liga Primera. And despite the early resurgence of Jalapa, you'd expect James Esteli pretty big favorites on their home turf tonight.
Esteli, the Train of the North, is excited to be back home this evening. I'm excited to be on the air with you again here, Ben, once again for some great soccer action down in Nicaragua. You mentioned we're remote, but the wonders of technology allow us to come together and do the game, and it's going to be a great one here tonight. Esteli on a roll. They've been relentless all season long. They just picked up right where they left off from the Clausura season, and they're ready to go here tonight against Jalapa. It's going to be a great one.
You can tell the players, our referee Aldano Velez, ready to go, even though we have not quite hit the top of the hour yet. So we're waiting on the official signal to get us going tonight, and we are underway. Actually, yeah, we'll jump the gun a little bit. A couple minutes before
there we go,
the local 8 p.m. kickoff. That is 10 o'clock on the east coast of the U.S., about 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., depending on where you are if you join us from Europe tonight. James and I here on the West Coast as we are underway with Jalapa, the visitors, in the white jerseys with the green and yellow stripe across the fronts of their jerseys. Esteli in the home red and white, the Train of the North. This has been a pretty lopsided matchup throughout the history. James, the 23rd meeting of which only 3 have been won by Jalapa, as we see the leading goal scorer in Liga Primera, Juan Barrera, earn an early free kick for Esteli.
Esteli, you mentioned, was behind early last week. A quick goal right out of the gate for Juventus Managua, but right away, Esteli does what they do best. They responded, and then it was just unanswered goals from that point on, and they just continue their dominance here this season.
So you have Barrera, who has been amazing. The 31-year-old from Ocotal, 7 goals through 4 match days, including 4 in a 5-1 win at Chinandega. He'll move into the box after drawing the foul. And Brandon Ayertes, who was the team's leading goal scorer last season, alongside the captain Manuel Rosas, each could potentially take this kick against the 3-man wall of Jalapa. Less than 2 minutes in, we'll give you the starting lineups in a moment, but first the free kick. It's a good one, but parried away by the keeper and former member of the Train of the North, Henry Maradiaga, and the native of Jalapa, who returns to his hometown club. Not a bad effort there, James, from Ayertes, but in the end, a pretty easy collection for the 30-year-old in goal tonight for Jalapa.
Yeah, it was a nice strike there from Brandon Ayertis, but in goal there, you mentioned Henry Maradiaga, former member of Esteli. It's funny, everything comes full circle. Denver Fox in goal tonight, obviously for the Train of the North. He replaced Henry Maradiaga last season, and it's been no looking back for Esteli since Fox has been in goal, and now we get to see Maradiaga with Jalapa tonight.
So Maradiaga, that's how we'll start setting up the Jalapa 11, a 4-3-3 tonight with Maradiaga in goal. The back line of Marcos Garcia, Adolfo Colindres, Marlon Medina, who is an Esteli native, one of 5 players on this roster who have experience with the Train of the North, as well as Delvin Siles on the back line. The midfield with Michael Montiel, Brian Zuniga, and Luis Borges, with Eddie Nicoya, Gabriel Coelho, and Luis Galeano, who is looking for his 100th career goal in Liga Primera tonight. Former Esteli man and the captain for Jalapa. An incredibly young club, James, in just their 6th season of top-flight soccer. They were formed in 2011, so the fact that they're off to a great start has certainly been a surprise for everybody around the league. And a couple of their wins have been against Juventus on opening night, 1-0 at home, and then Dirian Hen, the big one, against the all-time trophy leaders in Liga Primera, 2-0. Scored goals in the first and 24th minutes as they jumped on top early. Borges, the youngster in his first season, scored in the opening minute. And then it was Galeano, all-time leading scorer for Jalapa, with 44 career goals in the green and yellow shirts, who gave Jalapa that 2-0 lead. So trying to build off that, and they've only made a couple of lineup changes from last Sunday as Colindres and Zuniga enter the starting 11.
Well, when you're a young team, Ben, as you mentioned, they've been in their 6th year of existence, and you can go and you can defeat the oldest team in Nicaraguan professional soccer in the Cacique. You're doing something right, and that definitely gives your club something to build on going forward.
And you think about what Jalapa have done, they've pretty much borrowed the philosophy of Esteli from last season. Real Esteli, by far the best defensive team a year ago, as they won both the Apertura and Clausura tournament titles. And it's Jalapa who have only allowed a single goal through 4 matches. Pretty impressive when you think about it. 360 minutes played and only 1 goal conceded, which came in a loss at Junior Managua. And kind of surprising, all things considered, James. You look at their results. Mentioned the 2 wins. They drew 0-0 at Walter Ferretti, one of the perennial top 4 teams in Liga Primera. But their loss, go figure, was at the other small club just promoted from the 2nd division last season. Another example of why this game is usually hard to predict. And that's been the case for Jalapa so far.
Well, the defense for Jalapa has been outstanding. You mentioned that a moment ago, and that's just a lot of hustle and some great goalkeeping as well from Maradiaga. That never hurts.
And all under a new head coach, Carlos Javier Martino, the 45-year-old, leading his team to a 2-1-1 start. 5th head coach in team history for Jalapa. As we've played just over 5 minutes, a good amount of sustained possession early for the visitors as we again continue to play without any fans. If you are joining us for the first time tonight, that's been the case since last March, but Liga Primera, one of just a couple leagues worldwide that were able to successfully finish their 2019-20 season without any interruptions. And now back in the 2021 campaign, the Apertura in the fall and the Clausura in the spring. So this is match number 5 of 18. Then they'll have the season-ending tournament, and then we'll do it all over again starting in early February of next year, assuming that everything goes to plan, as we see a foul and a free kick coming for Jalapa. We'll run down the Esteli lineup as well. The 3-4-1-2 for 2nd-year head coach Holver Flores. His side is unbeaten in their last 12 matches. As they will, you mentioned Denver Fox, James, he has taken over from Maradiaga, but they're actually starting a new keeper in goal tonight. As you see, a chase given towards Maradiaga on the Jalapa goal. It's Rodrigo Romo, who they just signed a couple weeks ago from Ibanez, an amateur side in Spain. They were working on that transfer for quite a while. The 28-year-old in Romo, he comes in, and we'll see how that goalkeeping battle plays out between Fox who's in his fourth year now, primarily a backup until late last season for Esteli, and Rodrigo Romo, who makes his debut in the red and white tonight. He's joined by Oscar Acevedo, Manuel Rosas, the captain, and Oscar Lopez in the back three.
When we were doing the game last week, Ben, out at Messiah, I was impressed with the field conditions there, especially with the heavy rain they got during the first portion of that game.
Free kick from Galeano and a header up and over the bar. Galeano, the captain, former Esteli member. And yeah, you mentioned the rain, James. We'll certainly talk about that tonight. We've seen lots of precipitation throughout the week in Nicaragua as part of Tropical Storm Marco. Luckily, though, things weather-wise looking pretty good tonight. I guess I'd describe it as being sticky. It is in the mid-70s. Very humid. Could see some showers off and on tonight. Foul called in the middle of the pitch. Mentioned O'Donnell Velez, our referee tonight. We'll run through the rest quickly of the Esteli lineup with the midfield four. Jorge Betancourt, he's back in the starting lineup after sitting out last weekend as Esteli looks to push forward, and Barrera sends that shot wide with Richard Rodriguez, Marlon Lopez, and Josue Quijano rounding out the midfield. Harold Medina in an attacking midfield position, and the aforementioned Juan Barrera and Brandon Ayerdes, the two strikers tonight. For Holver Flores, who manages tonight in his 30th game, youngest ever head coach in the history of Liga Primera, taking over last season as a 22-year-old. And he's lost just 3 times so far, but he certainly understands, despite his youth, the challenge that Jalapa will face with a lot of... And they've really been Esteli's equal through the first 9+ minutes when you look at the possession.
Yeah, it's been an even match so far. Both teams going at it, very even action, not too torrid of a pace, kind of relaxed a little bit, but both teams feeling each other out here in the first 9 minutes, and so far evenly matched. But you mentioned the success of Jalapa, and Esteli, just all Holver Flores has done since he became head coach 2 years ago is win.
Despite all the success, though, and I mentioned the series history between these two teams, pretty one-sided, it was actually Jalapa who stunned Esteli in this same fixture last season, the 2019 Apertura. Jalapa came in, scored in the first minute, and Luis Galeano, who we've mentioned a couple times, the Jalapa native who wears that number 10 shirts for the visitors, he scored in that match as well. 2-0 win for Jalapa as they stunned Esteli, and we'll get a conversation early on with Richard Rodriguez and our referee O'Donnell Velez tonight. So Esteli, they've been caught before by this team. You would think, as a result, James, not going to be treading lightly tonight.
Definitely not. And Richard Rodriguez always never shy about letting the officials know his what's on his mind, Ben.
Yes, Rodriguez, he did pick up a yellow card. He has picked up 1 card over his first 4 matches, one of just 5 Esteli players to appear in all 270 minutes so far. There it's a header coming up and over the bar from Eddie Nicoya and out for a goal kick. You look at those 5, one of them sitting tonight, Denver Fox, for the new keeper in Rodrigo Romo, but impressive to see Juan Barrera, the 31-year-old. He is fit again after being injured and missing the final 6 matches of Esteli's title run last year. He's played every minute, so has Manuel Rosas, the 36-year-old captain, and Oscar Acevedo in that back line. It's
Barrera, just Mr. Dependable for Real Esteli since transferring from Municipal Guatemala.
Yeah, really has, especially this season with those 7 goals in 4 matches. Scored just twice in 16 games, was only healthy enough to make 9 starts last season. But he has a history against Jalapa, has scored 4 times. That's the most among active Esteli players. And we saw Rosas, that number 7 in red, the captain, seeing that ball go over his head and out of play a moment ago. But this is a match, even though, as we said at the top, James, Esteli league leaders, a perfect 4 wins in 4 matches. They will need to win tonight to keep that place, as earlier today another loss for Dirian Hen, shut out for the second straight match as they lose 1-0 to Walter Ferretti. So Ferretti up to 13 points through their 5 matches, 4 wins and a draw. So Esteli knows they will have to keep pace tonight. Ball sent down the left side. Betancourt tries to get the cross, took a deflection and looked to hit back off Betancourt. I believe it is correctly ruled a goal kick after some nice defending down that flank by Eddie Nicoya, the young 21-year-old able to get back in defense.
Great job there from Nicoya.
And we mentioned Walter Ferretti, one of several teams in the nation's capital of Managua, and that's the matchup next weekend. Esteli will go to the home of the national team, where a number of clubs play, including Walter Ferretti. That's a highly anticipated match, and then they'll turn right around and take on the struggling Cacique of Dirian Hen in El Clásico Nacional a week from this coming Wednesday. So Esteli, I'm sure James understanding the importance of this match, not only to keep that unblemished streak intact, but also understanding the next couple matches will be as tough as it gets in a close 4-day span.
Yeah, it's going to get intense. It's going to get more and more intense as the season goes along. You mentioned they have Walter Ferretti next week. That's going to be a great one. They get to face their former player, Taufik Gawarch from Mexico. So that's going to be an outstanding match on Saturday night. And then they're going to start playing more and more games more often, Ben. You mentioned the game on that next Wednesday, and then I believe they followed that one up with another match on Saturday. So it's humid outside tonight, 95% humidity. Fatigue's going to be a factor. They've got to stay hydrated and really plan for that stretch run coming up.
Coming up on the first quarter hour of this match played tonight. Another match in action as we speak, Managua and Juventus. Managua entering tonight third in Liga Primera. And Juventus, as we mentioned, that was the team who Esteli beat on the road 4-1 last weekend with goals from Juan Barrera. Also saw Josue Quijano score. Richard Rodriguez, he had opened the scoring for Esteli after they went down 1-0. Also got the first career goal on the senior team for Harold Medina, who starts once again tonight for El Tren del Norte, the Train of the North. It's a bit funny, though, James. You have the Train of the North. That's what Esteli, they call their team in the red and white tonight, but Jalapa actually further north in Nicaragua. The municipality of Jalapa, right on the border of Honduras. As you'll see a cross come in, headed clear by Rosas. Galeano fighting for possession. Long shot is sent well wide by Montiel, but it looked like a foul committed first.
Yeah, we'll get another look at it right here. Tries to turn it, nice footwork there. Off the head of the defenseman and away from the goal.
So the two most northernmost teams in Liga Primera tonight getting to play each other, James. Jalapa, pretty small area. Again, a municipality of about 85,000 who live in that area. They have a tiny stadium, the Estadio Alejandro Ramos Turcio, which holds only around 2,000 spectators, maybe. That's probably a generous estimation.
Did we ever
based
find
on
out what the attendance was from Messiah last week, or what the capacity was at that stadium?
No fans allowed, so I don't think they've been keeping the true attendance numbers, at least since the Clausura of last year, with a little toe poke ball coming to Rodrigo Romo, the 28-year-old from Spain. Yeah, so no attendance. That is likely to continue throughout the end, at least, of the Apertura. Could be revisited in the winter break before the Clausura starts in 2021. And in the meantime, a man down in the middle of the pitch for Esteli.
I don't believe Nicaragua has gone above a level 1 since the coronavirus pandemic began. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Oh, you're right. They've been very successful. Less than 5,000 cases overall, only 133 deaths so far. There's another look, by the way, as Oscar Lopez, the Esteli native, getting a blow to the back of the head. Just a glancing blow, obviously unintentional, but he looks to be all right. Yeah, Nicaragua, you look at the numbers, James, and that's been the question everyone's asking. How can you still play during a pandemic? Well, they've had the second fewest cases in all of Central America behind only Belize, much smaller country. As you see, Mara Diaga come out to collect. You can contrast that with other nations, and there are some international players. You look at Romo, who we just talked about, the Spaniard, and that was a big factor in his delay joining the team. Nearly given away to Galeano, but they'll say a foul is called first on Richard Rodriguez. Galeano trying to start a break of his own. The veteran, as a 28-year-old who was part of 3 Liga Primera titles in 4 seasons with Esteli. And you see him drawing the foul. Actually looked like Lopez grabbed him by the pants on his way by.
Yeah, he was definitely pleading this case to our official tonight, Velez, on that one. He did not agree with that call whatsoever there, did Luis Galeano. So Oscar Lopez now gets it.
Yeah, they give Lopez yellow for that. Lopez unfit to start the first couple games, made his season debut last weekend, and picks up his first yellow of the campaign tonight. Second chance for a Jalapa free kick with Galeano, who is the team's leading goal scorer from last season, but a team in Jalapa who got off to a brutal start. They were at the bottom of the table at the end of the Apertura, had to dig themselves out, barely avoided relegation last year. And Galeano, a big reason why they stayed up in the top flight, as he gets ready to take. 0-0 between Jalapa and Esteli. Here's Galeano. Hits somebody peeling up the wall there. Leave a corner.
Yeah, that should be a corner kick on that one there. It looked like it might have went off somebody's back.
So
see
now
if we
we'll
get
see,
another look at it here
momentarily.
momentarily.
See the Esteli defense, who haven't been totally impenetrable in that defensive spot. They have allowed 3 goals this season in 4 matches. As it is Galeano to take this corner. Scored 55 times for Esteli between 2015 and 2019 before his transfer back to his hometown club of Jalapa, his second stint. And here he takes the corner, our first of the night. Pretty good ball, but Jalapa unable to get a clean header to it. And it's out for an Esteli throw.
Great defensive position that time for Esteli, and just no chance on that one there for Jalapa.
So you think about a player like Galeano, a captain who's really the leader of this club, but they have brought in, over the past couple seasons, Jalapa, some international players, and I was mentioning that within the context of the COVID pandemic, how Nicaragua has been really fortunate to have so few cases, but for a lot of international players, there's been a lot of cause for concern just thinking about their home countries, and most of them have stayed in Nicaragua. There were a few that opted out right at the start of the pandemic back in March, but a couple players for Jalapa. You have one starter in Gabriel Coelho from Brazil, which has been by far the hardest hit country in South America. Several million cases in Brazil. It's really been the epicenter of that continent. So for players like him and Coelho, who we haven't really seen on the ball yet tonight, he's that number 9 shirt you see on the right-hand side of your screen. It's almost in a weird way, James, an advantage being able to play here where the risks are clearly less than, just based on the numbers, than in some of these players' home countries, like in Brazil, for example.
Yeah, it's tough on them as well because some of these countries have certain restrictions placed depending on their level of coronavirus that they have, that whether they will or won't let certain people in from certain countries. So some of these players have to decide if they're going to go and play, that they might be there for an undetermined amount of time and might not be able to go home and see their family for the holidays or whatever the case may be. So it can be a tough decision on them sometimes.
You see a goal kick here for Esteli after Free kick was given. Luis Borges took that awfully quick, trying to catch Esteli off guard, and it was the Brazilian Coelho trying to earn a corner, but was unable to do so. Now, you mentioned family. You look at Carlos Xavier Martino, great story, the 45-year-old and Argentine who initially came to Nicaragua towards the twilight of his playing career, played for 5 different clubs in Liga Primera, and really fell in love with the country. Met his current wife, Maela Cruz, who's the daughter of a former men's national team player for Nicaragua, and they opened a restaurant together, started a family, but he still has kids from his first marriage back home in Argentina, and he's described just the challenges of that, trying to stay in touch with everybody, and they've used their restaurants as a way to help out just from a financial standpoint throughout the community. They have it sounds like a great restaurant. I kind of want to visit it, James. Argentine Customs is the name of their restaurant.
Okay.
Apparently they make amazing empanadas. That's according to some sources that I dug up on that, James. So
sounds good to me.
Let's take a note of it, okay?
Hey, let's see if we can get down there and do this game from Estadio Independencia next year. Maybe we can go there. We'll do it.
Yeah, so Carlos Javier Martino, he's the new head coach for Jalapa and has done a great job in his first season, replacing Angel Orellana, who was an interim coach. They sacked Leonidas Rodriguez last season in October after just a brutal start that saw Jalapa 7 points behind the 9th place team at the end of the Apertura in Real Madrid. And they were 11 points behind Las Sabanas, who were eventually relegated at the end of last season. Jalapa, as is custom in a number of leagues worldwide, were part of a relegation playoff. They finished second last, and so they faced the 2nd place team from the 2nd division last season, Deportivo Mestalla. They ended up winning 4-3 on aggregate. It was one of their starting defensemen tonight, Adolfo Calindres, who scored the game-winning goal with the match-tied 3-3 in the second leg, scored in the 87th minute to keep Jalapa in Liga Primera. And they are taking advantage of that opportunity, off to a great start, 4th in the league table, entering tonight. And through 24 and a half minutes, James, they've still had the bulk of the possession. They've had a few free kicks, a corner opportunity, and they've kept Esteli at bay to this point.
They are playing right along with Real Esteli, matching them on the defensive end, on the offensive end of the pitch as well. Both goalkeepers doing a great job. It's a great match tonight, very even right now, and Jalapa has definitely come to play tonight with one of the best teams in Liga Primera.
Yeah, when you looked at Jalapa's schedule to start the year, I mean, it was a brutal slog. And when you consider that they were, you could say, fortunate to escape relegation last season, but starting off with Juventus, Walter Ferretti, Dirian Hen, Esteli tonight. They have Managua next weekend at home, and the outlook didn't seem great, but here they are, and it's plays like that, fearless defending from Eddie Nicoya as he shoulders the young Harold Medina off the ball, that have been really effective so far for Jalapa. And as you mentioned earlier, James, you combine that with Henry Maradiaga, an experienced, one of the top keepers last season in Liga Primera, taking over. Another little look there at Nicoya and that aggressive piece of defending on the touchline.
Yeah, he gave him a little chicken wing there on the way out of the sideline there, did Nicoya. But, yeah, you mentioned just for Esteli, they've just dominated. And Jalapa has stayed right with them here in this game. And when it's so mental, Ben, when no one expects you to do good, it's kind of like the pressure's off of you. There's the pressure's on Esteli because they're the defending champions. They've won the past couple of seasons, so everyone expects them to do well. But Jalapa, as you mentioned, they didn't think they were going to do very well, and neither did a lot of people. And so the kind of pressure is off. The team can just go out there and be loose and play and have fun. And they're doing it, and they're being successful with it.
You saw a moment ago, too, it looked like Holver Flores not happy with basically a no call there on the touchline, and they give him a yellow. So Flores, the manager, goes into Adonal Velez's book. We've already seen Oscar Lopez pick up yellow for Esteli. And in addition to that aggressiveness, should point out that play from Nicoya. There's a little more involved there. Nicoya just transferred from Esteli. He didn't play for the senior team, but he was a key starter on El Tren del Norte's U20 youth team, a team that won the Clausura tournament. And he scored in the first leg of the Clausura finals last season against Managua. So Nicoya, who's been on the youth teams for both Dirian Hen and Esteli, the two biggest clubs in Liga Primera, now finally getting his chance at some senior level action with a smaller club in Jalapa. And you'd have to think James trying to prove his worth to his former club tonight, and that he belongs out there on the big pitch. Of course, they all play on the same pitch, but playing at the senior level.
Yeah, he definitely has a chip on his shoulder, and rightfully so. He wants to prove himself, feels like he does have something to prove. Indeed, wants to show everyone that he belongs out there with the big boys, and that he can hang with them.
He saw Brian Zuniga giving chase. And really, Jalapa, you would think, and obviously part of this is it's a new coach, and that will determine, and finances, of course, a small club, you might not have as much flexibility, but a lot of teams who, even clubs that barely escape relegation, if you have a bad season, a lot of times you see tons of roster turnover, as Juan Barrera's cross blocked out by Nicoya. And I believe a corner coming up for Esteli. So yeah, you normally see tons of turnover, guys leave, new transfers brought in, but Jalapa only lost their goalie from last season, Kenneth Bautista, who left for Ocotao. They've brought back basically everybody, and have brought in a couple players, including the Honduran Brian Zuniga, as this corner is dealt with pretty easily by the front man. Still alive, though, for Brandon Ayertis. What can he do? Doesn't quite catch it right. Ayertis still looking for his goal-scoring form. Scored 11 times last season, including twice against Jalapa. Did score against Real Madrid. Not quite centering that one up, as it goes well wide for a goal kick.
Yeah, we keep waiting for Ayertis to open up offensively. You mentioned the 11 goals last season, so he knows how to score, and it's just he's on a little bit of a slump right now, and he should be pulling out of that here shortly, or at least Esteli hopes he does for sure.
He scored twice in the final friendly match Esteli had in the summer preseason against Madrid. But it's been Juan Barrera who has eaten up all of the goal-scoring opportunities, and as a teammate, all you really care about is the wins. So he's been certainly happy that Barrera's had the success so far, and we'll have to see how the season plays out for Barrera. Near giveaway, as it's a chance to cross from Zuniga. Just getting a hand to it was Rodrigo Romo. Nearly a disaster at the back as Luis Borges came charging in. First action for the Spaniard in goal in his debut, and he prevents a goal.
Well, that was a near heart attack right there for the goalkeeper. But I tell you what, that was a great job there for Gutierrez right in the front. He nearly had a shot on it. Crossing right in front. If he had about a step ahead, he might have had a shot on that one.
And they thought potentially could be a penalty. Zuniga, who was causing all sorts of problems at the back, sent that cross toward the chest of Manuel Rochas. Didn't look like a handball as we have reached the half-hour mark, meaning our first half cooling break, but infusing some new life from Brian Zuniga, who just made his debut, James, last weekend. Came on as a sub in the second half, but comes over from the Honduran First Division, played for Jocoro. And that's a very talented league, Honduras, who have made waves as a national team in CONCACAF. So he's a guy, a 24-year-old in Zuniga with a lot of experience, and really on back-to-back plays made Esteli's defense look a bit vulnerable, but a good save made by Romo for his first as a member of El Tren del Norte.
Yeah, they are very happy as Jalapa to have Zuniga. He comes in from last season, 21 games, or during the 18-19 season, 21 games, he had 13 goals. So that's an impressive performance in a very tough league, as you mentioned. You see Hover Flores there getting the troops reorganized during this cooling break.
Hey, this was about the time last weekend, and here we will see that near giveaway. You don't expect that from Rosas, the 36-year-old captain, longest tenured member of Esteli, but just caught by surprise from Zuniga. And that replay does confirm, James, there was a lot of work to be done there for Romo, with the youngster Luis Borges looking for his second goal in as many matches charging in. But as we were just talking about, this was about the time of the match last weekend where Esteli really gathered themselves in the monsoon, playing in Messiah,
Yes.
and flipped that match, starting with a Richard Rodriguez goal on a free kick.
Yeah, they did. They had a great defensive performance there. Got a couple of steals right before that goal from Rodriguez, and then after that, they just didn't look back.
Meanwhile, if you're Jalapa, and it is really interesting, you think about how these cooling breaks can just affect the flow and the rhythm of a game, and how it can benefit a team. I'd think in a case like this, Jalapa really pushing for that first goal. You almost feel like Esteli, despite being the favorites tonight and playing at home. This helps them, I would think, James, just recollect, get their legs under them. It is not an oppressively hot, but it is an extremely humid night tonight. And any break you can get it certainly feels good if you're a player.
Most definitely. You got to get a little bit of hydration going there, but more importantly, you're able to have sort of a timeout that you really wouldn't normally have, and you can kind of reorganize your thoughts. The coach can make a few certain points, and then you guys can hopefully get out there and fire things up once again after the break.
And as far as we know, at least from our Liga Primera sources, that cooling break has been not fairly standard, especially in the early part of the season. They are starting this Apertura season essentially on time. Normally they begin in that month of August, which is historically in Nicaragua is extremely warm and humid. And that continues tonight as we come out of the cooling break with the corner opportunity. Making his 100th start in a Jalapa shirt tonight. Sends the corner in, hits the first man, and it finds the back of the net. There comes Gabriel Coelho, the Brazilian, after the flicked-on header. Finds his boot, and it's 1-0 to the visitors. Jalapa in the 35th minute.
How about that, Coelho? What an outstanding strike. A great corner there from Galeano, and he kept that one a little bit lower that time than the earlier one, and it found the foot of number 9, and he put it in the back of the net. What a great job there. We'll get another look at it here momentarily, hopefully.
Oh, so much for that cooling break helping Esteli, James, as Jalapa was able to draw up a perfect play from the corner. And Gabriel Coelho gets his first goal of the year.
Right off the head of a defenseman for Esteli. And Coelho found it, and with a quick strike, 1-0 Jalapa. There it is.
Yeah, I think, James, that was a Jalapa player who got that first ball. Was trying to see on the replay. Couldn't quite tell. Thought that might have been Zuniga, but can't say for sure. They do not credit assists in Liga Primera, at least as far as their official stat keeping, so we won't know, but hard to tell on that replay. But it did look like Galeano's ball perfectly found the head of his first man, flicked on, and Coelho was forgotten about at the back post.
Yeah, he was right there, right place, right time, and a great strike. A nice effort in goal that time for Esteli, but just too much smoke on that one.
The 27-year-old who did score against Esteli in a loss last season was second on the team with 5 goals. That was his first year a season ago with Jalapa. And he has his first of the 2020 Apertura campaign. And how about this surprise story of the fall season? Jalapa, it continues. And for the second straight year on the road, they jump on top of Esteli, the 2-time defending champions, looking to go to their 6th straight tournament final appearance, as Barrera can't get much on that and committed a foul in the process.
Well, once again, Jalapa has come to play tonight. They are not backing down. You can say David and Goliath, you can say whatever you want, but they have come to play, and they're hanging right with this Esteli team. And for the second week in a row now, Esteli has not been the team to score first, so they're going to have to play from behind once again.
I believe that is Adolfo Colindres down on the deck, who started the team's first 3 matches, sat out last weekend, but is back in the starting 11 tonight. Coelho, he scored the opening goal in that relegation playoff, an eventual 4-3 win over Deportivo Messiah. So he's been a part of some big moments already for Jalapa, and one of 4 players coming in who had played every minute of the team's 4 matches.
It's great to see him up off the turf there, Ben, because he didn't look. He looked pretty motionless there for a couple moments.
And I think Henry Maradiaga and some of the defenders were saying that should have been a card on Barrera, just given how hard he came in for that challenge. But nothing comes of it. And a frustrating first 45 continues for the hosts in Real Esteli, who have not lost since early April of 2020.
Unfortunately, Ben, we were not on the first couple of games for this Apertura season right now, but this one is definitely the most physical game thus far for Esteli that I've seen so far this season.
Yeah, to be honest, the game we saw last weekend, and that was our first time covering Liga Primera in the fall with Esteli and Juventus. The Train of the North coming off a 4-1 win on the road, but you could argue the biggest obstacle was the weather in that match. It was a absolute downpour the first 40-plus minutes. Barrera, again, the target of that ball, but headed clear, and now Galeano rolls around in pain as he took a hit from the 20-year-old Brandon Aertes. And we'll likely get another look at this.
Galeano up fairly quick.
So coming up on our 40th minute, I have to give Henry Maradiaga a lot of credit, wearing, looks like a fleece beanie on his head.
Is that what that is?
That's what it looks like to me, James. It is a humid night. I can't say that would be my first choice, but what can I say? He was named the best goalie in the 2019 Apertura tournament, so he clearly has his methods.
Well, the 30-year-old is a hot commodity. He's a great goalkeeper, and I was waiting for my picture to clear up a little bit, Ben, before I mentioned that, and I was like, I don't know if that's just my picture or if that's a beanie he's wearing out there tonight, but sure enough.
Yeah, it is some sort of hat. Might get a look at him coming up, as Esteli will have a free kick, and potentially a busy moment coming up for Maradiaga. There were the collision, Galeano, Mikel Montiel, right there in the middle.
Old science classes tell me, Ben, that 60% of your body heat escapes through your head. So I got to imagine that would be a little bit toasty out there on a 95% humid night.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Maradiaga has not had much to do tonight. We'll see if that changes on this free kick. He does come out a little bit clumsily at that. It was punched out of play in a corner coming. Maradiaga, though, nearly crashing into one of his own defenders on one of those in-between balls that can be so hard to judge as a keeper.
Yeah, that one across in there. He wanted to make sure that didn't get any chance to get the goal.
Now here's Aertes. Corner. Good ball. Good punch by Maradiaga. Strong punch at that as well. Forcing Esteli to recollect. Quijano. Richard Rodriguez. That ball is caught on the dive by Maradiaga, and now we can get a close look.
Yeah, now we get the look.
That's
now
definitely what I thought it was, James. Yeah, he's got the full beanie. He made sure to adjust it too.
Right on time too. Nice job there, Henry. Oh, a great save as well. Crossing across right in front of the post there. Excellent job.
Keeping it 1-0. Jalapa, they scored in the 35th minute with Gabriel Coelho. And it was Christian Gutierrez, I should correct myself, who had that shot attempt. He was right next to Richard Rodriguez, but it was Gutierrez who takes it. And as I noticed, Gutierrez for the first time, James, he was listed as a bench player coming into tonight. So that, I believe, a late change in the starting 11, because we did not see any substitutions made, obviously, in this first half.
Yeah, Gutierrez has been pretty active tonight. He's been around the ball quite a bit. He was just in front of the goal there on that last one that nearly scored for Esteli. Little action on the wall there.
Yeah, the chase coming from Harold Medina. Well, he has a youngster's energy and unbridled passion. Sometimes that can cause some bodily harm, though, when you get close to the boards past the touchline.
A little too overly aggressive there, but you mentioned 18-year-old. He's ready to go out there for Esteli.
Yeah, based on just looking at the pitch, James, and again, we're remotely, we can't totally see by looking down at the touchline, but I believe it is Gutierrez who has ended up starting for Oscar Acevedo. Acevedo's 23, Gutierrez 24, so it could have been just a simple mix-up as far as the numbering, but it looks like Gutierrez making his fourth start in 5 matches. As Barrera sprung free down the left side, trying to lead a counter and get an equalizer for Esteli. Ball comes to Medina, tries to get it out of his boot. Richard Rodriguez slips it through, took a bounce in the middle, and they do say it touched the hand of Jorge Betancourt. It did look like he raised his arm trying to shield himself from that ball coming in as we take another look.
Right there, Richard Rodriguez tries to take a shot, nothing doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Court's out there.
Definitely handball on Betancourt, who was for the first time last weekend, but back in the starting lineup, played the most minutes of anybody coming back from last season. Nearly 3,000 minutes played for Betancourt, the naturalized Nicaraguan, originally from Medellin, Colombia.
And Mardiaga a little shaken up on that last play there as well. But he's up and ready to go now.
I almost wonder if that was maybe a little residual from that earlier punch he came out on a free kick earlier. Nearly had a collision with Colindres on his back line.
And he goes down again.
And now we might see a card coming here. Barrera getting awfully aggressive. We've already seen Barrera have one hard challenge, and the 31-year-old does now go into the book.
Mardiaga absorbing a lot of contact down there tonight for Jalapa. Another look here. He tries to take it off the chest and rein it in, and then he gets a little contact there from Juan Barrera. Draws the card.
Yeah, it's one of those where, and you could see there wasn't any contact made, but you don't need contact in a situation like that to feel like a card is warranted, because that is a dangerous play, going studs up right into the midsection area of anybody, but especially on those pretty harmless collection balls for keepers. Just a reflection, really, of the frustration it's been in this opening 45 for Real Esteli. They have a couple minutes of stoppage time to try and claw back an equalizer, but in the meantime, it is the upstart team from Jalapa who are on top 1-0 thanks to a Gabriel Coelho goal in the 35th minute coming off of Luis Galeano's corner.
A very physical game tonight. We mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, and that usually necessitates more whistles, so we got 3 extra minutes here in the first half.
Galeano feeding his goal scorer in, actually that's Luis Borges, his goal scorer Coelho right behind the youngster, but it's out for a goal kick. And you see the urgency for Esteli. They've not been thrilled. You'd have to think some tough words coming from Oliver Flores, who hasn't had to give a whole lot of tough talks in his short time as manager, but you'd think one would be coming at halftime here, unless his team can get a response in the next couple minutes.
Well, it'll definitely make him a well-rounded coach, being able to it's easy to go in there and win and have your guys just dominate all the time, but the true sign of a good coach is to go in there and motivate those guys and get them to turn it around in that second half.
He picked up a yellow from the touchline earlier. Oscar Lopez has seen yellow, as has Juan Barrera, who was actually sent off back in the 2014-15 season against Jalapa, as here's some miscommunication again at the back. Maradiaga got a punch to it, but there was some open space, and a shot sent well wide by Esteli. Maradiaga again in some pain. It looked like Eddie Nicoya, one of his defenders, he crashed into over the top.
Coach Carlos Javier Martino for Jalapa, they're going to have to get the ice bath ready tonight for Maradiaga, because he has taken a couple licks.
And it looks like that will be the end of our opening 45. And when you're a 30-year-old as well, you feel those a little bit more
oh, yes.
The next day. So time to regroup for Esteli. But the story of this match so far, Municipal Jalapa, a goal in the 35th minute from Gabriel Coelho. And after our first 45, it's the visitors on top. Jalapa 1, Esteli 0. We'll take a break. Be back with our second half coming up after this.
Good stuff. Great first half, man. Are you, I don't even know how you're seeing, are you seeing the numbers? Because my thing is so grainy, I can't, you're doing a great job picking out the numbers, because you get it before I can even tune in and see what it is, most of the time. Yeah. The haircuts too help. Right. Got you. All right, I'm going to take 5. Good stuff, man. Be right back.
Noticias, resultados, estadísticas, videos y todas nuestras series en un solo lugar. Recibí notificaciones directamente en tu dispositivo. Suscríbete ahora y sé parte de la familia rojiblanca.
The Train of the North invites you to subscribe to its new YouTube channel, where you can enjoy live matches, scores, interviews, and exclusive content from the greatest soccer club and reigning Nicaraguan champion. The time to be engaged with the international train has arrived. Follow the train from the north.